myself as the, why are you laughing? No, another sort of curious thing about it was when I originally designed Jake, it was a normal nose. And then halfway through, it just started looking more like a penis. And I decided to keep it in there because I thought, well, that's kind of his personality. He's kind of a macho, young Marlon Brando kind of guy. So I thought I'd leave that in there. What else? The music is by Nicole Renaud, and I worked with her for a number of years. I think the first film I worked with her on was called Eat, back in 2000. And she's a French chanteuse who also lives in New York sometimes. And when I was designing this film, I really had her in mind because it felt like such an over-the-top kind of passionate opera. It was very operatic. That's why I used a lot of those opera tunes in there, like Bolero and Il Pagliacci and La Traviata and things like that, because it just felt like their passions were so strong and almost exaggerated, well, very exaggerated, and it seemed like the opera was the way to go with the music. I've had a very difficult time getting distribution on this film. And it's kind of bugged me because it seems to be the case with a lot of my films. Some films I do get distribution. And this one I thought is the best film I've ever done. I think it's a great story. It's a really wonderful technique and a lot of humor and a lot of personality. And I felt that this one deserved to get really good distribution. And I think there's a certain prejudice in the U.S., not so much in Europe and Japan, but a prejudice against, first of all, films that are not made for children, and also films that are not made with computers. I mean, certainly Pixar and DreamWorks and Blue Sky, they're making great films, and they're lovely films. I love those films. But why should kids be the only ones that get to see great animation? It just bugs the hell out of me. Why can't adults who have adult ideas and adult imaginations be able to see animation that tells them stories? I just don't understand that stereotype that animation has gotten. I remember one distributor I showed this film to was actually a friend of mine, and I said, you want to distribute this film? And he said, well, Bill, there's nudity in your film. And you go to any other live action film and everything has nudity. And why for some reason animation is a sacrosanct art form that cannot talk about adult ideas. I know a lot of people who work at Pixar, and they have, passions, they have romances, they have affairs, they have divorces, they have adult situations, yet they're not allowed to talk about that. They're forced to tell children's stories. And that just seems like you're lying. That just seems like, if you're an artist, you should talk about your own ideas and imagination and stories. So this is something that kind of bugs me about it. So that's why we decided to self-distribute the film, because none of the offers we got were really satisfactory to us. So that's unfortunately the situation. I hope it changes. This film was a big success in New York. We played at a multiplex, and we killed every other film that was there, including Get Hard with Will Ferrell and Kevin Hart. We got bigger box office than they did. So I don't know why these distributors feel that there's not a market for these films that talk to adults. Anyway, I am ready to do Q&A if anybody has any questions. We can't be long because I think we have to exit for the 5:15 show, but I'll take a few questions. Anybody have any? Yes?
Do you ever feel pressured also I know you've got your guard dog character recurs in a lot of your movies, but are you ever pressured to market a character? Because that's so much of animation is that.
Not really. The dog is very popular, and like you say, I'm actually want to do another dog film. It's all storyboarded, ready to go. I just don't have time to do it right now. It's called Cop Dog, and this will be my 6th film, I believe. And this is where he is actually stationed at an airport sniffing for drugs, and he catches a suitcase full of drugs and tears it open, and the whole airport goes bananas. So that'll be fun. It'll be a great story. But no, I like doing different stories. I don't like doing sequels for my feature films. I like trying something different. And that, again, is the luxury of being independent. You know, no one can tell me, oh, you got to do a second film because that's the market. I just want to do films that I think are interesting and exciting. And except for the dog films, that's what I'm doing. Because I love drawing the dog. The dog is a lot of fun. That's all right in the middle there.
Is there any chance we'll ever see your movies streaming on Netflix?
Well, yeah, Idiots and Angels is on Netflix. It's been on there for a while. And I think this film, Cheatin', is going to be on Netflix. Oh, I got to make some announcements. My entire library now was bought by Shorts International. It's about 15 hours of animation. And they are selling it exclusively to iTunes. So I think starting this month, April, you can get my entire library on iTunes. So if you were back in the 90s stoned watching MTV and you saw one of my movies and you forgot all about it, but you want to see it again, go to iTunes. You can probably find that long lost film.
That includes the full length?
Pardon?
That includes the full length?
Yeah, it includes The Tune, I Married a Strange Person, Mondo Plympton, Mutant Aliens, Hair High, Idiots and Angels, and some of the live action films too. I did a couple of live action films that weren't so popular, but I still think they're very entertaining. And then I did a bunch of Flash cartoons. So there's almost 60 or 70 shorts in the program. It's a large body of work. And then this film, Cheatin', will be available on Vimeo On Demand starting April 21st. So if you know somebody who likes animation that talks about adult ideas, tell them to check out Vimeo On Demand. And that's where we're hoping to make our money is on Vimeo On Demand. If we get a large group of people ordering the film. What's so great about Vimeo as against iTunes or Netflix or Amazon is 90% of the money goes to the artist, which is really cool. With you know the other places, it's 50% or even less goes to the artist. So it's really we're hoping to do really well on Vimeo. Yes, way in the back.
Yeah, I wanted to know something technical because I don't know how an animation is made. Since you are the creator of the story and you drew the animation, what does the art director do? Does someone stand over your shoulder and say, I don't like that?
I will tell you. In fact, I'll be specific. I'll tell you exactly what jobs I do, and I'll even tell you the budget, which very few people in Hollywood like to talk about. I'm the producer. I'm the writer. Actually, I'm essentially the art director. But Lindsay Woods, who did a wonderful job doing the color models, and I didn't pay her a lot of money. I gave her the title art director. But I did the storyboards, I did the layouts, I did all the animation, I drew all the backgrounds, and I directed the film. Then I had Lindsay Woods, who was art director, and she did a fabulous job doing the coloring, selecting the color palette, and I would, say yes or no, but she really was a genius at that, and that's why I gave her art director credit. And then Desiree Stavrakos, who was the producer of the film, she kept the machine moving. I put all my drawings on her desk, and I said, make me a movie, and she delegated which artist did the coloring, which artist did the scanning and the cleaning and so on. Then she composited all the artwork, and then we went to the sound and the editing and the post-production. And we had about 4 people do that. So the entire crew was essentially about 15 people. I mean, we had some people helping and volunteers and interns and things like that. But the actual crew that did the film, about 15 people in all. The budget was initially was about $200,000, which I paid for myself. And that's when we ran out of money. And then James Hancock came in. You saw his name up there. He put in some money, and then we did Kickstarter, and that gave us about $350,000 to finish the film. Or that was the total budget, and that gave us enough to finish the film. So I worked for free. I didn't pay myself anything. Most of the money went to the artists. We had, I think, 8 or 9 colorists who worked on the film, and that took a lot of money. And it was about a year and a half process to do all the coloring, maybe less, maybe, I don't know, 14 months, something like that. Yes, right in the middle.
So, I'm your fan. I watched a lot of your films.
Thank you.
I'm just very curious about another film you made before called Fan and Flower, because I realized that one is very different. Could you tell a little bit about it?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, The Fan and the Flower is a very rare film in that I did not write it. A guy named Dan O'Shannon, who was a big TV writer, and I forget what the show, I think the Family, something Family. It's a very popular show. I don't watch a lot of TV. But anyway, he's very busy, and he wrote the story, and I met him at San Diego Comic-Con, and he asked me if I would direct his story and make it, design it and everything. And I said, yeah, because he paid me pretty good money. He's very rich because he's a big Hollywood guy. So it was a delightful project to work on. We really worked well together. He wanted to get an Oscar nomination out of it, and we were this close. We got shortlisted, and I really thought we had a shot, but it didn't, for whatever reason, it didn't happen. But the film went on to huge success. It was a very popular film, and at some point we wanted to do a children's book from the artwork and the story, because it's a very charming story. It doesn't have any sex or violence or crazy humor, but it's a very sweet story, and it's one of my favorites. Yeah, thank you. Right here in front.
I like a lot of the strange perspectives and points of view. Like, how do you determine what the inside of a toaster is?
It's my imagination. I don't know if you heard the question, but she said she liked my perspectives and my angles on reality. And that's one of the great things about animation is you can distort reality and you can show images that are pretty much impossible to show with a live action. And I love going inside people's brains or down their throat, or just crazy underside of cars and things like that. And I like to just keep it lively, keep it visual. I like the visual storytelling. No one's really ever complained about the lack of dialogue in this film. A lot of people find it refreshing. And I think to keep it interesting, to tell a story visually, which is, in a way, it's much more poetic without the words. I like to try and use different perspectives and different angle. You probably saw there's a small De Chirico representation in there with where the perspective totally is jumbled up and distorted. And it's a couple of other references. Tex Avery, there's a Tex Avery reference in there. And a couple others I can't remember right now, but I just like to play around, keep it playful, keep it whimsical. I love films that are whimsical. I don't like films that take themselves too seriously. I mean, that's what animation's about. It's just doing crazy things and making it just kind of a game to watch, kind of almost a sport to watch. I like films that take you to some place that you've never been to before. For a good example is Star Wars. I mean, there's no place where Star Wars takes place. And I think people like to go to films that show them a different world, a different existence, a different environment. And this film certainly does that. The cars are from the 40s, the architecture's from the 20s, the fashion's from the 50s, the music's from Europe. It's a sort of a never land that these people go to. And that's the basis of the storytelling, is that it is almost totally a dream, kind of a dream experience, and that's the kind of film I like to do. Yeah, you had a question.
You mentioned internships.
Mhm.
I was just wondering about your process of doing that.
Sure. How are we doing for time, by the way?
No, you're fine. You got
Okay.
10 more minutes.
I don't do the internships. My producer, Wendy, she's the one that does it. If you're interested in doing internships, send Wendy a letter at studio@plymptoons.com, and send a resume, and she will interview you. We usually have two or three interns each semester or each term. It's usually about 3 months, and it's really cool because you get to you know, see the whole process, how an independent studio works, you know, how we make independent films, how we make money making these films, how we survive. And it's a real education, I think, if you're interested in animation and interested in independent animation especially. We don't do, like I say, you know, it's not a big studio distribution deal. It's very DIY, do it yourself, and that's the kind of thing we do. Yes, sir.